Everyone, welcome to Anu's classroom. We are doing strategic management and this is a subject which you will be learning in your second semester of IGNOU distance education. So far we have learned about what strategy is, how we can analyze our environment, both internal, external, as well as that of our competitors in order to pave the way to formulate strategies. We saw how different strategies are formulated at the business level as well as corporate levels. We saw all those things so far, and moving forward we will see how we can implement the strategies we have created as strategic managers and how we can control them. So in this video, by the end of this video, I hope that you will be able to understand the behavioral aspects of or the behavioral dimensions of strategy implementation with emphasis on the concept of leadership and its importance in strategic management. So our objective for this video is to understand the concept of strategic change, to understand the role of leadership in strategic management. We will also be discussing about what leadership is, a brief touchback, and we'll see what are the various functions of leaders, understand different leadership styles, and also about the importance of ethics and values even in strategic management. So leadership, the various forms of leadership, that is the various styles of leadership and the functions of leadership, ethics, values, or even change for that matter in an organization is not new to us, especially as we are doing semester 2. We have learned about these things in semester 1 in various subjects. So I am sure, so definitely this video, at least this concepts, must be a cakewalk for us, right? So let's get started without wasting much time anyways. So as we all know, the successful execution or implementation of strategy depends on the appropriateness of the internal organization, which to a large extent is actually reflected in the organizational structure. The organizational structure, I hope you remember, you might have learned about both the network and matrix structure, right? It actually represents the network of relationships within an organization over a fairly long period of time. So we have to match structure of our organization to our strategy, and that is very important because there are many alternative forms of structural designs which an organization can use, and based on that we need to adapt or we need to adopt the best possible strategy there is. So definitely it becomes very important for organizations to find out the extent to which the changes can be implemented. So any strategy implementation will be will start with an onset of change to the organization. Any plans you implement, any policies you bring about in an organization, and any strategies you hope to implement are all drivers of change within an organization. And therefore there can be also different levels of strategic change also, depending upon the nature of the strategy we are going to implement. And while implementing the strategy, the whole process actually involves a number of people, tasks, business units, and products to move from a very stable strategy which they are actually currently going forward with to an organizational redirection. So if you remember the concept of unfreeze, change, and then refreeze, you remember? So that is the thing. When organizations currently, whatever way they are going on, they are going smoothly on that, there are problems, and that way of going is not getting us to where we want, right? Our goals are not achieved, so that is why we come up with a strategy in the first place. So when we implement the strategy, we have to unshackle ourselves and we have to melt, and like an ice cube, right? We have to first melt and become water again, and then we have to take the new form, that is implement the strategy, and then we have to refreeze into that new form in order to form the new shape of ice, right? Similar to that, we have to do in case of change in when we implement strategy as well. So as we said, right, we have to match organizational structure to strategy. So an organization, depending upon its size as well as objectives or goals, may be pursuing several strategies simultaneously. And there are no hard and fast rules also to determine what kind of structure would be useful for which type of strategy. Each organization has its own history behind it and its own reasons of why they are pursuing certain objectives, or why they are choosing certain alternate strategies, over others, right? And managers also will have their own value systems and philosophies. Like the top management has to determine how much authority can be delegated to each unit, and what are the benefits of such delegations, and what are the costs of centralization versus decentralization. It has to decide the coordination among the different units of the organization and how we can bring about that coordination and such things. So we have to think about the strategy critical activities, the degree of authority or decentralization, and how we can provide for the coordination while we are trying to match our organization's structure to the strategy that we are trying to bring about. So, leadership, what is leadership? According to Moran, leadership is the capacity to frame plans which will succeed in the faculty to persuade others to carry them out in the face of all difficulties. So, some researchers actually have shown that if the executives have very good leadership qualities, then the productivity of the nation can increase to a large extent without any additional finance or any new technology. Consequently, the key to effective strategic management also is to ensure that leadership runs like a uniform thread through all functions of management and to integrate them to a culture of excellence. You think about it. Even during our independence struggle, right, rather than having a lot of different people spread across in small units trying to rebel against the British, when Mahatma Gandhi or Subhash Chandra Bose, Jawaharlal Nehru, people like that, great leaders, when they came forward and unified all activities to achieve that common goal, when everything was brought under the umbrella of leadership, then we actually saw some good traction in our independence struggle event, right? So that is what we are saying. So even before that also, there were movements, there were struggles, there were rebellions in order to achieve independence, but they were scattered, they were dispersed, and they were not united, right? It is like small ants here and there biting, but then when everybody comes together and bite you, then you run away from the ant hill, right? If there is one ant here, you will crush it. So, after some time, there is another ant, you will crush that also. But what if all these ants come together and attack you? It becomes difficult, right? So that is what a leader does. A leader leads the way. He paves the way. He what you can say, he motivates his his followers into achieving something great. And it is not just in the daily life, or it's not just in politics, even in organizations and everywhere. If you have a great leader, if you have great management, then people will stay, right? You might have heard, even right now there is a very big switch and terminations and things going on right now, especially in the IT industry, and all people are switching so much, especially after the COVID era, when work from home and stuff like that started. There is this great resignation trend that is going on right now. So what exactly are people leaving? People don't leave organizations. You must have heard this line: people leave managers. If your manager is not a great leader, if he doesn't show you the way, if he doesn't force you to improve, and if he doesn't what you can say, if he doesn't recognize your commitments or your contributions, then you do not like it, right? We all need that what you can say, that environment around us, in order to a conductive environment, I would say, around us, to keep us motivated and keep us satisfied in our job. You must have well recognized, especially we studied also about these concepts in first semester, that it is not just money that drives people. It is much more than just compensation that drives people. Even as we started our strategic management discussions also, we discussed the concept called willingness to sell. That is, if when you put the willingness to sell in the context of your employees, that is the minimum amount of wage which they for which they are willing to dedicate that much hours or that much skill to your organization. And the more you lower it by, let's say, giving them a very good environment to work in, or good facilities to work in, motivating them and giving them ample opportunities to upskill and stuff like that, or flexibility and all, then their willingness to sell actually comes down, and whatever you are giving them becomes more and more satisfactory to them, and it goes beyond their expectations. So that is the employee, what you can say, aspect over there. And we as organizations, managers, or even entrepreneurs, we should actually tap into that. That is what we have to think about, and that is what this entire thing about strategy management is also about, right? So that is about leadership. So, as we said, right, functions of leadership, what are they? There are mainly three functions of leadership that we can say. First is the need of the task, leadership as a need of the task. leadership has to take care of the needs of the individual as well as that of the groups. So these are the three major functions of leadership. So when we say about taking care the needs of the task, we mean we have to define the task, make the plan, allocate the work and resources, control the quality as well as tempo of work, checking the performance of the actual performance against the plan and such things. And talking about the needs of the individual, what we mean is we have to attend to the personal problems of our employees or our subordinates. We have to praise the works of individuals, know the individuals personally, because in that case you will know how best to influence them and motivate them. Okay, recognize and use the individual's abilities and train individuals to be better. And when it comes to understanding the needs of the group, a leader should be able to set standards, maintain discipline, build team spirit, encourage, motivate, and give a sense of purpose to his teammates or the group he's leading. Appoint sub leaders who will take up the leadership, who will be the next line of leadership after you have moved on. Right. So appoint sub leaders, train them, ensure communication within the group, and train the group as to be able to lead themselves, right, without an external force. So when your followers can work independently without your, what you can say, without you having to draw the boundaries for them, like when they can think and be united and act as a unified front by themselves without any external influence or external factors, that is when you as a leader has done a successful job, right? So, and that is the difference also between a leader and say a manager. So, what are the few aspects or attributes of successful leaders? They have ambition, they have willingness to work hard, they have the ability to stick to whatever they are doing till it is done, capacity for lucid writing, imagination, ability to spot the opportunities, curiosity, willingness to again work long hours, understand others, okay, ability to administer efficiently. They should have enthusiasm, they should be willing to take risks. Definitely they should have that leadership quality, analytical ability, they should be able to take decisions and meet unpleasant situations, be open minded, and ability to adapt very quickly to change. So these are a few attributes of successful leaders. If you look at these attributes, you will realize that these are not things that are new to you. So, in case you like how our course on strategic management is going and you are interested in sticking with us for more and more courses that are being planned, then consider subscribing because and share about us amongst your friend circle, because it will definitely help me help people like you more and reach more people like us and grow our community, because we Anu's Classroom is a community of like-minded people who are there here for with the aim of acing their MBA graduations, right? So let us all work together and help each other, be a part of this community. So in case you are interested, if you find it a good cause and if you find that this channel is giving you something, then do consider subscribing and help us help you better. So, what are the few dimensions of leadership? So, this is the few dimensions of leadership styles, like based on the risk taking ability, whether the leader is prone to take high risk decisions or are they risk averse. Their technocracy, that is planning tech and technocracy dominated decisions, or they just want to, stick to the conservative decisions. How flexible are they? How much of a participant are they in team? Like, do they have the team management and employee oriented posture, or they just don't consult with the team and they just take their own decisions, they think and they take decisions without consulting others? Or if there is coercion, that is is it authoritarian values, or it is non-coercive behavior? And similarly, do they take external market oriented decisions or internal administration oriented decisions? So based on all these things, leadership styles are defined. There are multiple leadership styles. So let us look at a few of the leadership styles based on these five traits, okay, or dimensions of leaders. So first we have an entrepreneurial leadership style. So in such leadership styles, the risk taking ability of the leaders, or the, what you can say, tolerance to risk tolerance is very high in entrepreneurial leaders. Technocracy is moderate to low. Flexibility is what you can say, medium to high level of flexibility they have. Participation is a little bit low, and coercion is also highly variable. Then we have another leadership style called neo-scientific, where again risk taking is variable, but they have a very high technocracy. So neo-scientific leadership style is kind of like, in such leadership styles, I would say that there is a what you can say, a very high how do I say it? There is a very high authority, level of authority that is getting implemented from outside. Like there is a very strict supervision and strict technical checks and stuff like that. And there is a very lack, we can classify it, or you can characterize it as having very much of a lack of accountability also, neoscientific. So that is the reason why technocracy is very high here. When you say technocracy, what I want you to understand is the leaders are, or more power is given to people who are technically expert. So that is the reason why here technocracy and participation is very high of leaders, because they are there behind your necks, breathing down behind your necks and seeing what you're doing all the time. Okay, so there is very high participation and very high technocracy. Same way, similar, almost similar to that, we have the quasi scientific. The difference between quasi scientific leadership style and neo scientific leadership style, you see, is only on mainly on participation and coercion. So participation here, compared to neo-scientific, it is a moderate to low participation of leaders. And we have another thing, that is muddling through type of leadership style, where what you can say, technocracy is low. They have a what you can say, moderate to high amount of flexibility and coercion. Then we have conservative leadership style, where it is risk taking is low, technocracy is also low, flexibility is low, participation is low, and coercion is the only thing that is variable. Democratic, again, risk-taking technocracy is low, but high flexibility and high participation, because it is democratic, right? The entire team members, everybody involved is involved in the what you can say, in the leadership. And coercion is again variable. And then we have a middle of the road, where it is almost what you can say, average of everything, where risk take is also average, technocracy is also average, flexibility, participation, everything is average. So that is middle of the road. So these are the various or 7 leadership styles of top management that we usually generally come across. Now, based on the environment in which the organization operates, we also have to make sure that our leadership styles are suitable to the environment in which we operate. If the environment is highly turbulent, okay, and in that case we should go for an entrepreneurial or neo-scientific style. If the turbulence is medium, then we can go for neo-scientific or middle of the road. And if it is a very low turbulent environment, then definitely conservative approach would be good. Similarly, if hostility is high, then go for entrepreneurial. If hostility is medium, go for neo-scientific. If hostility is low, go again, you can go for either neo-scientific or conservative. And similarly, diversity, if it is high, you can go for entrepreneurial or neo-scientific. If it is medium, you can either adopt a muddling through style or middle of the road style. And if it is low, you can select neo-scientific or conservative or entrepreneurial or quasi-scientific approach. Similarly, if your environment is very restrictive, highly restrictive, then go for either neo-scientific or entrepreneurial. Medium restrictiveness, then go for entrepreneurial or conservative. And based on technological complexity, if it is very high, then go for entrepreneurial or neo-scientific. Medium means you can go for quasi-scientific, or if it is a very low, then you can go for democratic. So the ultimate, what you can say, conclusion or the summary line is, based upon your organization's structure, based upon the various dimensions that you consider apt for any leadership style, and based on the environmental factors, you must choose the best suiting leadership style that suits your strategy and your organization. Let us quickly recap on corporate culture. This is again something that we have already learned about in our semester 1 subjects, but it has come up again in strategic management. Let us look at how strategic management and corporate culture are related. So the culture of the organization actually very much depends actually on the behavior of its employees. If the employees have a very strong commitment towards the organization, then the organization can be said to have a very strong culture, and vice versa also is true. It is not at all easy to have a strong culture in the organization, because a lot of it actually depends on how the leaders of the organization handle their employees. And to bring about a very good and strong corporate culture, the leaders of the organization is and along with its employees also are supposed to have a few skills, like they need to have an understanding of the human nature. They need to have a good skills of expression and listening, ability to correct mistakes without offending others, accessibility. They should always have a we approach and not a you approach. You should not, especially in the Indian context where we give a lot of importance to group cohesion and group activities, group tasks, rather than like in America and all, where it is more like an individualized culture, where we attribute our decisions, whether it be good or bad, to groups, right? We don't take individual decisions. So similarly, as leaders also, we should be very careful that we still hold that we approach and not a you approach. Okay. They should have self control. They should be able to moderate between the success and failure. They should not be very much depressed in case of a failure, or go over the top, over the moon in case of a success. They should have a composed nature. Okay, they should be able to set targets and also be able to recognize their team members for their contributions, and boost their morale, so that they will work better going forward as well. And ethics and values also are not concepts that are new to us. A very strong culture has to be based on very strong ethics and values. If your company's ethics and company's values are not strong, then naturally the culture of the company will also not be as strong. And therefore, this is a very important factor also, this ethics and values, for the success of our organizations, especially when you talk about it in the long run. When we start an organization, we do not start with an aim of winding it up in one day, or maybe in a couple of years, right? Maybe in 2 years we'll wind up this organization and move forward. If that is the aim, or that is the what you can say, goal with which, or objective with which we are starting the organization, means definitely you're doing something shady. Otherwise, why would you want to wrap it up and move away from that, right? So naturally, if you are planning to build a stable enterprise and grow and make a brand for yourself, then naturally you should be having very strong ethics and values. Ethics and values, they ensure that the organization does not adopt any shortcut methods to achieve success, and instead it will stress on the concept of sustained success. Every organization has its own code of ethics and standards in written form. So if in case you are a working person, or if you have worked, just think about it. Just look at your company website or your internal platform somewhere. Definitely you will see the ethics and code of conduct and values of your organization mentioned somewhere, because any organization will have it. And if you are entrepreneurs, if you are planning to be entrepreneurs of tomorrow, then keep in mind that you also should need or have a very good and very strong ethics, values and morals that will guide how your business will be conducted. So that was it for this video. We were talking about the behavioral dimensions of strategy implementation. If you like it, and if you want to listen more on strategic management, consider subscribing to our channel, and do check out our playlist on strategic management. We have courses on multiple other subjects as well, so feel free to look through our playlists to find the points that or topics that you are looking for. So until I see you in the next class, it's bye from me.